Walter Elias Disney. He was the co-founder of the media empire and the imaginative superforce behind the creation of Mickey Mouse and Disneyland. He's so legendary that his truths are hard to discern from fiction. I'm Alex the Historian, and for the last 15 years I've been studying the history of the Disney Company in an effort to better my understanding. With the Disney fanbase growing exponentially in recent years, and so many rumors still swirling about this honored man, I've created this video series in order to delve deeper, to tackle the ever-elusive question of just exactly who was Walt Disney. Mickey Mouse is an American icon. He's become not just the symbol of the Disney Company, but also the embodiment of the curiosity and kind spirit within us all. Much like his creator Walt Disney, Mickey Mouse is ever evolving. His heart and his mind are open to be shaped by the very people that tune in to watch his show, or arrive in droves to see his performance. It's that embracement of evolution that has allowed Mickey Mouse to continue to thrive in the hearts of Disney fans, even during the 6 decades where his cartoon series was absent. We all know that when Walt Disney was a youngster, living on his family's farm in Marceline, Missouri, he often drew pictures or caricatures of farm animals. At one point, he even drew a picture on the side of the barn, and his father Elias was furious with him. Elias and Flora Disney insisted that Walt quickly abandon his hobby of drawing, because it was more important that a boy of his age focus on his education and get a job to support the family. But no matter how hard things got, Walt never gave up drawing. In 1923, Walt moved to Los Angeles, and together with his brother Roy Oliver Disney, they both started the Disney Brothers Studio, which today is known as the Walt Disney Company. It was a rough road to get here, and Walt had already tried to make his previous company, Laugh-O-Gram's Studio, work by selling cartoon comedies. But his large-budget series called Alice's Wonderland couldn't sell enough reels to make back the money that Walt was hemorrhaging. So as you can see, Roy Disney, while trusting in his brother's skill as an entertainer, was wary of Walt's business decisions. It must have been very stressing for Walt to put so much of himself into his animated shorts and walk away with nothing. And this happened often throughout Walt's life. Even in his old age, his company produced movies, cartoons, products, or attractions that simply didn't pan out. But the spirit of Walt Disney was one that always kept trying and never gave up. The Disney Brothers Studio found success in a cartoon series starring an animated rabbit they called Oswald. Oswald was a character created out of the collaboration between the creativity of Walt Disney and the artistic talents of his right-hand man, animator Ub Iwerks. Oswald was quickly gaining popularity among audiences, and as Walt Disney's budget for each cartoon continued to grow, his distributor, Charles Mintz, was no longer willing to supply such high funding. In fact, since Charles Mintz owned the rights to Oswald, he decided to give Disney an ultimatum: accept massive budget cuts, or face losing Oswald and Walt's team of hand-picked animators. It was an unfair move. However, there was nothing illegal about it, and if Charles Mintz walked away with Oswald, Walt would also lose the ability to distribute his films through Universal. In the end, Walt had to let Oswald go, along with most of his team. Walt had grown fond of his team of animators, and to lose almost everything in one day felt like a betrayal. Lillian Disney liked to tell the story of Mickey Mouse's creation. As she told it, she and Walt were on the train heading back to Los Angeles from his meeting in New York where he lost Oswald. He was defeated and feeling low, and he pulled out a pad to sketch on, and on the pad appeared the rough image of a rambunctious-looking cartoon mouse. Lillian Disney recalled, "Walt said, 'I think I'll call him Mortimer.' To which I said, 'Mortimer? No, how about Mickey?' And right there, on that somber train ride home, was birthed one of the most famous cartoon characters to ever exist. Mickey Mouse was further developed by Ub Iwerks and eventually voiced by Walt Disney himself. I could go on about the history of Mickey, but I must return to the point of this story. Mickey Mouse was introduced in 1928 and was a hit from day one, and he provided Walt the income he needed to experiment with animation and film. Through the Mickey Mouse cartoons, Walt experimented with sound cartoons, music, Technicolor, and even improved the art of animation itself. Thanks to Mickey Mouse, Walt was able to create the Silly Symphony series, which led to the creation of the first full-length animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yes, the Disney Brothers studio, which was renamed Walt Disney Productions, had experienced great financial success thanks to the little cartoon mouse. Not to mention, the Mickey Mouse cartoons helped carry the company through the Great Depression. So many things in life were changing fast, even the politics of the company. And many Disney fans today forget that even in the 1940s, the Disney company was pretty big. At that point, there were hundreds of people who worked for Walt Disney, but had never actually met him. Some had never seen him. The ever-growing size of the company was a point of stress and fear for Walt, but through it all, he had his little mouse. Walt once said about the mouse, "Mickey Mouse popped out of my mind and onto a drawing pad 20 years ago on a train ride from Manhattan to Hollywood at a time when business fortunes of my brother Roy and myself were at lowest ebb, and disaster seemed right around the corner." Walt Disney spoke about Mickey as if he was a real person, a business partner or family member, perhaps a brother, or even a beloved child. Mickey was all of those things to him. So it should come as no surprise when you hear the stories of Walt firing animators who would draw obscene images of Mickey and Minnie. Many like to take these stories and play them off as some harmless thing that Walt overreacted to. But Mickey was family, and Walt would never allow the image of his beloved mouse to be tarnished in such a way. In 1953, the last Mickey Mouse cartoon series animated short aired. The episode was called The Simple Things, and it marked the end of an era. You see, Mickey Mouse was still very popular, but he was quickly being eclipsed by other projects happening at the Disney studio, and Walt feared that if he didn't retire the cartoon series featuring his Fab Five characters, that they might be left in the dust. In other words, Walt wanted Mickey to retire in his prime and maintain his popularity through movies, consumer products, and public appearances. It was a sad time indeed, but by no means was it the end of Mickey Mouse. When Disneyland opened in 1955, Mickey Mouse played a minimal role in representing the park. You see, up until the opening of Disneyland, Walt knew there was a very good chance that the park could tank and pull the rest of the company down with it. So many things could go wrong, and if Walt wanted to create a plan B to recover from it, he would need the help of his good pal, Mickey. So it was important that Mickey not be associated with the park too heavily, and yet, Mickey couldn't be altogether absent from Disneyland because Mickey Mouse might be just the thing to carry the park into success. It was a very complicated matter. But as time went on and Disneyland stood on its own 2 feet, Walt felt more and more comfortable at sharing Mickey Mouse with Disneyland. Towards the end of Walt's life in the mid-1960s, Mickey Mouse found himself living out his retirement at the beloved park. And indeed, it was a wonderful place to finally sit back and meet with his fans, something which he wasn't able to do very often during his career. I feel that Mickey wasn't officially immortalized at Disneyland until 1993 when his likeness was created as part of the Partners statue, which featured Walt Disney holding Mickey's hand and gesturing down the length of Main Street, as if to show Mickey all they had accomplished together. Mickey Mouse changed so much over the years, from a lean, rambunctious critter to an experienced and wise soul. There's no denying that in old Mickey cartoons, the mouse has appeared doing or saying things that we recognize today as insensitive or unacceptable. That being said, Mickey Mouse has always proven himself as a character willing to accept change in order to better himself. And that same willingness was observed in Walt Disney as well. The older Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse got, the more they changed with the times. By the year Walt died, neither him nor Mickey were the same people they were back in 1928. If you want to know more about who Walt Disney was on the inside, look no further than the mouse. Their personalities mirrored each other. Walt faced many losses in his life, but he leaned on Mickey for support, and they always came out of things on top. Both were daring, and yet both could be vulnerable too. Walt is Mickey, and Mickey is Walt. So if you ask me, Walt was both a man and a mouse.